Hey everybody, I'm Rick. Welcome in. So back in June, the 2024 NHL Draft took place, and the crew here at Talking Habs and over at Don't Puck with Media, we gave our thoughts and our hopes for what our teams would do at the draft, and we put out a video with all of that. The draft happened, and it's a little bit after, and the crew of Talking Habs and Don't Puck with Media want to give you our thoughts on how the teams did. Montreal Canadiens, the Boston Bruins, and the Philadelphia Flyers. So, without wasting any time, this is the first question from the interview. How wild was that first round? And here's everybody's thoughts on that. That was probably the wildest first round that I've seen since I'm doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty wild. I thought going into the draft, the first round was definitely going to be surprising.
The first round was pretty crazy. A lot of players fell that I didn't think would fall.
The first round, it was a very intense first round, is how I'll put it.
I mean, it was kind of as expected.
I think outside the first pick, I think the whole world and their mother-in-laws all knew that Macklin Celebrini was going to go one overall.
I honestly thought that Zeb Byam was one of the best, defensive prospects. First off, and
you didn't really know who the hell was going to go anywhere. And after pick number 2, which obviously the first pick we all knew Celebrini was going, pretty sure that Levshinov was going to go to Chicago. After that, though, we didn't, and it started right there with the third pick.
Of course, everybody knew Macklin Celebrini was going first. Second is where you sort of technically get a little bit crazy, even though everybody knew Chicago was going to go Artem Levshinov.
I think Seneca going at third was a surprise for a lot of people, himself included.
There was just one surprise that I really had was Beckett Senecki going to 3.
But I think the craziness really started at pick 3 when Senecki went. His reaction told the whole story when he said, "What the fuck?" to himself.
Third is where it gets nuts. I don't think anybody really expected Anaheim to take Beckett Seneca. It was rumored a little bit during the last day or two before the draft, but I don't think anybody seriously thought that they could have picked Beckett Seneca. I think everybody saw it being, I believe it was Artem Silyev was the projected pick at that stage.
Seneca going to Anaheim. Even Seneca said, come on, I don't expect this. I wasn't shocked by that, but it was a surprise.
For me, I thought Seneca was a talent that could have gone really anywhere from 3 to 10. I think he's got a very high ceiling.
I thought Anaheim had some other questions that they needed to address outside of adding him, but I think it was a good pickup for what it was.
Seneca was a wild pick. I think it's going to be a very solid pick, but it was definitely off the board considering where Anaheim was drafting.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised too. I thought they had Boyum on their eyes. I thought maybe Dickinson was a possibility. Silyev, again, me, I suck with names. The dude that went to the Devils at 10, I thought he was a real possibility at 3. I felt like that they were going to go defenseman pretty likely, but I did not expect Senecki. He's a forward too, but so that's what made it even more surprising.
Columbus going Caden Lindstrom wasn't that big a surprise. I felt that they probably wanted another centerman to have that 1A, 1B punch with Adam Fantilli for the future.
It was a lot of trade talk, thinking that Columbus may have been open to trade and pick 4. Philly and Chicago, which that one really surprised me. We were thinking about making a trade for that spot.
I wasn't surprised by Montreal taking Demidov. If he was there, they were taking him. I was sure of that at that point, even though I wasn't a Ginla guy.
And then Montreal getting Demidov, for me, was very wild. As you can tell by the hat, I'm a Canadiens fan. I was not at all expecting him to actually drop. I was hoping he would. I didn't expect it to happen.
I had, Demidov falling to the hat. Well, we've talked about that, and stuff. I had him always pegged, for 5, either him or Tidge Iginla, at 5. Yeah. So, I mean, That was a Seneke. I probably butchered his name there. That was a wild pick for the Anaheim Ducks.
Demidov going 5 to Montreal was, I wouldn't say a surprise. I felt like that was kind of expected.
Why didn't Chicago take Demidov when they tried to get that 4th pick from Columbus so they could take Demidov? Like, why not just take Demidov?
As we kind of got later in the draft, I'm still kind of bamboozled with the Flyers trading back and taking Jet Luchenko.
When he was sitting there at 12 and then the Flyers traded back, I was like, wow. So I'm going to be honest, I was a little head scratching.
Jet Luchenko, of course, to Philly, that was a lunatic pick, considering they Consta Helenius. Sorry?
A real head scratcher, that one.
Not that I didn't think Jet Luchenko was a good prospect. I did a little research on Jet. I didn't do a ton of research, I'm going to be honest on him.
Yeah, it was a massive head scratcher, considering Consta Helenius was there. Sasha Bosvert, even though he's also a bit of a reach. If you wanted centerman, I think he's going to be better than Jet Luchenko. Michael Haig, who goes to Montreal. Cole Baudin, Dean Letourneau, I think are all going to be better than Jet Luchenko. I cannot see how the Flyers had a good pick with Jet Luchenko. There were much better players available, especially if they wanted a centerman.
So I did a bit of head scratching for about a half hour. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it was a few other picks. Us picking Luchenko at 13 caught me by surprise.
I think, Jet Luchenko is a speedy player that the Flyers haven't seen in some time.
I think his ceiling is probably middle 6, maybe 2C. But, I think with the talent that was there and guys like Cole Eiserman and Consta Helenius, it was surprising.
They needed that speed. They needed, a center. And I think that Jet Luchenko, after the dust is settled, is going to be a heck of a pick for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Tijagila, very, very good pick at 6 for Utah. Of course, everybody wanted him to go to Calgary. If he wasn't going to Montreal, everybody wanted him to go to Calgary. But Utah saying, hey, you know what? No.
Round pick 6 is where things kind of went a little off. I didn't expect Tijagila to 6 to Utah. I didn't expect Berkeley Cat to go to Seattle at 8.
There were shocks everywhere.
The Flyers have talked over and over about trying to come up with a defensive pair for Jamie Drysdale, and I thought that Byam was sitting right there, and that would be a good defensive pair in the future. That's ultimately what was running through my mind there.
I thought Byam was probably going to the Ducks at 3rd. I thought that made a lot of sense for him.
So, yes, passing up Byam, was a head scratcher, and it may come back, to haunt them, but I think that they're going to get a very good player in Jet, and I don't think it'll haunt them too much.
I didn't expect Boyum to be there for Philly at 12, and I didn't expect us to pass on Boyum at 12, and drop down to 13, and then not draft him and let Minnesota draft him. That kind of caught me off guard.
So there are a lot of surprises. Top 10, the way the defenseman went. Bulliam going at 14, I think. 13, I don't remember. 12. No, was it 12? Minnesota moved up, yeah. So Bulliam going that far down.
Carter Yakimchuk being the pick to Ottawa, I think was hilariously bad.
Yeah, it was wild.
He's going to be an okay defenseman, but when you have Sam Dickinson, Zane Perrick, Artem Silyev all on the board, you got to pick one of those guys. That was a crazy pick.
Yakimchuk, Parake, although I wasn't surprised at Parake. I actually had that.
Cole Eiserman dropping to 20 to go to the Islanders.
Yeah. Cole Eiserman falling all the way to 20. I think, like for example, the rankings I have here for Bob McKenzie had him at 14. Everybody saw him being a probable 10 through 14 type pick. I don't think anybody expected him to fall to the Islanders. They get a legitimate goal scorer for the first time since probably Mike Bossy. They've had an actual 30 goal scorer on their team.
Cole Eiserman falling to 20th. Thinking back on it kind of makes sense because he's still very one-dimensional.
Farther down in the draft, near the end, not as much. But even there were some surprises.
I didn't think the Leafs really had a good first round at all. I thought they were better D-men at 23. I don't know why they traded out of that. But, the Leafs.
I don't know who the hell the guy Toronto picked. I wasn't crazy about that.
But then there was the 26th pick, which they moved up to 21.
But yeah, Eiserman to the Islanders. I was a huge fan of that pick, and Michael Haig to the Canadiens. kid grew up as a Canadiens fan. He mentioned the Leafs 3-1 comeback on the Leafs. How can you not love that kid if you're a Habs fan?
Hayes dropping to 21 was a little shocking. Us trading our final first-round pick back to next year for Edmonton. I think they got Sam O'Reilly with the pick.
Artem Siliev, though, was really, really a hard faller. I was expecting him to go a lot higher. I was expecting him at 3 to Anaheim.
Siliev, like I said, suck with name. Sorry, going to New Jersey at 10.
Just because he's a big boy. The NHL is very much going for that good mix of size and skill. Siliev does have a lot of defensive ability. It's the offense that I can see why he fell. But I was completely shocked that he fell to 10 at Jersey, and I thought that aside from Aaron Kiviharju, going in the 4th round, I thought that might have been the biggest shocker of the night was in terms of fallers, I should say. Dean Letourneau, admittedly, I'll say that was a bit of a crazy pick. I was not expecting him to go 1st round.
I liked the Bruins pick at pick 25 for Dean Letourneau. That's something I saw, but outside of that, I don't think anything else was too much of a surprise.
Especially the fact that Bob McKenzie had him at 36th, even though he is, I believe, 6'7", 210 pounds. I expected him to still be an early 2nd round pick.
You hit the nail on the head. This draft seemed to be going for size. Everybody's going for size.
Yeah,
Not surprised the 6'7" kid went higher than.
Kind of a little bit. I mean, I get why. He's a very Boston player, so it does make sense.
But I think again, a lot of teams kind of passed up ability for bigger size. We saw that as a theme throughout the draft. I think that could bite some teams in the ass. In teams like Minnesota that got William at 12, I think he's going to be a great player for him. And I think the same thing with Cole Hudson falling out of the back end of the 1st round. I think a lot of teams saw more size and went with that over ability, and we'll see how these guys develop. But firsthand account, I think if the ability is there, I think it should outweigh size.
Dickinson going to San Jose, who traded up from 14 to 11, was, I think, a home run pick for them. I think they had the best first round out of anyone. They got their future number 1 center and number 1 D-man within the first 11 picks, so that's pretty damn good.
Dickinson to San Jose is a huge pick. That's a great one.
That was a really wild 1st round. Really fun to watch, though, because you didn't know who was going to get picked anywhere. I was surprised there weren't more trades, though. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a trade.
There was a lot of unpredictability. The only thing that kind of upset me, though, was there wasn't any player trades in the 1st round. When we heard all week from some of the big analysts like Elliot Friedman and Pierre LeBrun that, this is going to be a chaotic 1st round. When yet again, it was just status quo and everyone picking where they picked. But
and the last 2 picks, Ben Danford and Sam O'Reilly. I have no clue how these guys go in the 1st round. Aaron Kiviharju is still there. Charlie Elick is still there. Alphonse Fridge, Cole Hudson's still there. You have 4 guys who are infinitely better than Ben Danford. I say this as an Oshawa Generals fan. I love the Generals.
That was the wildest 1st round that I've seen.
1st round, I'd say, if I were ranking it on a crazy factor, 1 to 10, of course, 1 being not crazy and 10 being the most, I'd give it a good 8.
Overall, the players getting picked was surprising. The lack of trades in the 1st round was not. I think is probably the best thing.
It was a very unpredictable draft. I had a lot of fun watching it.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, give a thumbs up, leave a comment, and please share this video.